Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. The devastating Young and Restless twist that's set to leave. The Newman family heartbroken and in shock. The Newman family just celebrated their matriarch, Nikki Newman, and the party went off brilliantly. There's even hope on the horizon that Victor might accept Claire and Kyle's relationship as a final gift to his wife. But what's coming will cast a dark shadow over all of this. And for once, we're not talking about anything related to Aristotle Dumas. This has absolutely nothing to do with him, aside from a few tense conversations and Kyle's bizarro offer to Victor to leave the town and pay him $5 million smackaroos if he hurts Claire. Nikki's birthday went off without a hitch. The only upsetting thing to occur was when Cole suffered another coughing fit and some wooziness whilst on the dance floor with Victoria. Cole's been insisting that he's on the mend from his mystery ailment, but our first clue that might not be the case came when he got dizzy upon standing up at Crimson Lights last week. We should have known something was coming then when he turned up late to the birthday bash and blamed it on some complications related to this bug he's been battling. Before we knew it, Cole had suffered a setback and Victoria was hollering for someone to call 911. In typical stubborn male soap character fashion, Cole once again refused to let Victoria call for help and nixed the notion of going to the hospital. Thankfully, he allowed himself to be dragged up to a suite, otherwise he might have infected the whole party, and we'd be looking at an entirely different type of storyline. We're not gonna lie. We marked Cole for death when he first started, coughing after his return from the business trip weeks ago, but he's since seemed to rally and it appeared as though the plot point would turn out to be, well, pointless. But much like his nagging cough and shortness of breath, this plot is hanging on, and it's Cole's aforementioned stubbornness that has us very concerned. That's where the twist comes in. After Cole left the birthday party, Victor worried that he had the signs of pneumonia. If that's true, Cole's continued refusal to see a doctor or go back to the hospital could cause something that would otherwise be treatable to turn deadly. Alternatively, Cole could have something far more serious that's masquerading as pneumonia, like lung cancer. Delaying treatment could prove to be the difference between life and death for Victoria's man. It's also possible that Cole was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer the first time he went to the hospital and decided to keep the terrible news to himself, so as not to burden Victoria and Claire. He was pretty cagey about his test results. If you don't think this can happen on soaps, just take a look at Bold and Beautiful's Liam, who didn't want anyone to know he had an inoperable brain mass. If that's the case, it explains why Cole is adamant about Victoria not taking him to the hospital. He doesn't want her to discover the truth, and he already knows there's nothing that can be done. Either way, it's not looking good for Cole Howard, and the Newman clan, believing he's been battling a common cold, will not only be heartbroken, but utterly shocked to lose him so unexpectedly. Consider the massive impact of Cole's death here. It's a question that's been at the heart of the Young and the Restless since the earliest days of Victor Newman's reign over Genoa City. But in the coming weeks, a twist is poised to rock the core of the iconic Newman dynasty. One so shocking, so irreversible, that it could splinter the family beyond repair. We're not talking about a hostile takeover, a sordid affair, or even another one of Victor's manipulative schemes. We're talking about a deeply buried secret that will unravel decades of Newman history, threaten relationships both personal and professional, and expose a deception that has been hidden and protected at all costs. This is the twist that's going to leave Victoria, Nick, Adam, Abby, and even Nikki utterly devastated. And it begins, ironically, with love. Chapter 1. The discovery, it all starts innocently enough. Victoria Newman, fresh off a bitter corporate battle and seeking something grounded, stumbles across a collection of her late grandmother's letters tucked inside a cedar chest in the Newman ranch attic. Most are sweet, dated musings to friends and relatives long since passed. But one stands out, addressed to Nicole Reed, The letter is signed with initials. H.M. Victoria furrows her brow. H.M. doesn't correspond to any family member she knows, but it's the content that sets her heart racing. I pray this letter finds you before the truth does. Victor must never know what we did, or who the child really is. He must believe she's his. It's safer that way. For all of us. Victoria rereads the passage 5 times, trying to absorb what it might mean. She assumes Nicole refers to her mother, Nikki, but the implications are terrifying. Was Victor not the father of one of Nikki's children? And if so, which one? Chapter 2. The Search for H.M. What follows is an obsessive spiral that only Victoria could fall into, combing through old medical records, Newman family archives, and even confronting her mother. But when Victoria brings the letter to Nikki, her reaction is chilling. She freezes, pale, silent. I need you to leave this alone, Nikki says quietly. There are some doors that should stay closed. That's when Victoria knows it's real. Determined to uncover the truth, she turns to the one person she knows will help her dispassionately. Adam Newman. Chapter 3. An unlikely alliance, their key. Alliance is uneasy, prickly at first, like 2 generals forced into the same trench. But Adam, ever the opportunist and truth-seeker, finds himself drawn into the mystery. After all, if Victor lied about one child's parentage, who's to say Adam's origins are what he's been told? Together, they dig into old hospital records, aided by a whistleblower nurse from the original Memorial Hospital who kept copies of certain birth documents in case she was ever subpoenaed. And there it is, a transfer form showing that one baby, born to Nicole Reed on June 17, 1983, was listed as having paternal confirmation, pending. That baby's name? Nicholas Christian Newman. Chapter 4. The DNA test now. The question is no longer if Victor is the father of one of Nikki's children. It's which one he isn't. And the evidence is increasingly pointing toward Nick. Adam, predictably, is gleeful. Imagine the golden boy not being daddy's, he sneers. Bet that'll make Thanksgiving extra awkward. Victoria is torn, not about Nick's place in the family, but about what this revelation would do to him. But Nick's no fool. He knows something's off. Cornered at crimson lights, Victoria confesses. We think you might not be Dad's biological son. For the first time in a long time, Nick looks shaken. And for once, he agrees. They need proof. Chapter 5. Shock and confirmation. The DNA results come back. Victor Newman is not Nicholas Newman's biological father. The room goes cold. Nick stares at the envelope like it's radioactive. Then who is? He whispers. Victoria hasn't found that answer yet. But Nikki's reaction speaks volumes. Chapter 6. Nikki's confession backed into a corner, Nikki finally tells the truth. Years ago, before reconciling with Victor, she had a brief but passionate affair with a man from her past. Someone no one ever expected would matter again. A name that rocks the audience to its core. Joshua Landers. Yes, the same Joshua who would later become Sharon's beloved father figure. Before his days as a professor, Joshua had been a blue-collar worker in Genoa City, and in a moment of vulnerability, during one of Victor's long absences, he and Nikki reconnected. Nikki had never told him she was pregnant. She allowed Victor to believe Nick was his. It was cleaner, safer, and Victor never questioned. It now, decades later, that lie has detonated. Chapter 7. The new family fracture. The ripple effects are immediate. Nick. Untethered. Nick is gutted. The man he modeled himself after, constantly tried to impress or rebel against, was never his father. It's an existential crisis that shakes him to the core. He starts drinking again, skips work, pushes away Sharon, who gently tries to comfort him. "You were always Victor's son in the ways that mattered," she says. But it doesn't help. The man in the mirror no longer feels real. Victor. Betrayed. When Victor learns the truth, it's less about biology and more about betrayal. "How could you lie to me for 40 years? He roars at Nikki. "How could you? Let me raise a child that wasn't mine and never tell me?" Nikki sobs, but she holds her ground. "Because you were gone. Because I was scared. Because you loved him, Victor. I didn't want to ruin that." But the damage is done. Chapter 8. The Fight for Legacy. With the truth out, a new question emerges. Is Nick still entitled to the Newman fortune? Adam says no. Victor says maybe. After all, Victor has raised Nick, mentored him, forgiven him countless times. But business is business, and bloodlines matter to Victor more than he'd ever admit. Victoria, shockingly, comes to her brother's defense. "He's earned his place," she says. "He's more Newman than half the people walking through this door." But Adam seizes the opportunity, proposing that if Nick's no longer a blood heir, perhaps he should take over as COO. He presses Victor to make the change official. Victor delays. For once, he doesn't know what to do. Chapter 9. The revelation that could change everything, just when things seem at their lowest. Another twist emerges. In a hidden envelope inside the original hospital files is a note scrawled in shaky handwriting, and that Victor was never supposed to know. It's signed by Joshua Landers, dated weeks before his sudden death in a car crash. Only now does it look less like an accident, and more like a silencing. Chapter 10. The Implications. Could Victor have known the truth, or suspected, and eliminated Joshua Landers to keep the family intact? It's a theory too horrifying to imagine, but the circumstantial evidence is mounting. A private investigator confirms that Victor was in the same town as Joshua on the night of the crash, despite claiming to be in Europe at the time. Victoria and Nick confront their father. Victor doesn't deny the travel, but he does deny foul play. "I was there to warn him," he says, but he refused to stay away. But the look in his eyes, even Nikki isn't sure what to believe. Chapter 11. Where do they go from here? The Newman family is in ruins. Nick takes a leave of absence and contemplates legally changing his last name. Victoria is left running Newman Enterprises solo, again, and struggles under the weight. Adam feels victorious but hollow. With Nick's fall, there's no one left to fight. Nikki spirals, her past, her guilt, her lies all dragging her toward relapse. Victor is isolated in the ranch, abandoned even by his loyal security chief. "Family," he mutters. "It's all I ever wanted, and now it's all gone." Chapter 12. The outsider returns as the dust settles. A mysterious figure arrives in Genoa City. A tall man in his 40s, handsome, intelligent, and unmistakably bearing the features of Joshua Landers. His name? Jonathan Reed. He claims to be Nick's half-brother, the product of a relationship Joshua had just before Nikki, and he has questions of his own, especially about why Joshua died, and why Victor Newman has always lived above the law. Could this stranger be the next great threat to the Newman Empire, or their redemption? Epilogue. A family forever changed. In the final moments of this arc, we find Nick sitting alone at the lake house holding two objects: a photograph of himself with Victor, fishing when he was 10, and the DNA results that prove they are not father and son. He takes a lighter to the envelope, but spares the photo. "I may not be your son by blood," he whispers, "but I damn sure lived like one." As flames consume the evidence, the camera pans out, and we see Victor standing on the hill above, watching his not son, eyes filled with something he's rarely shown: regret.